We are back for round 2 and lost the die roll. Our opponent is playing first, but we do have a nice hand of that's capable of going turn 2 zombie, and then we have a recoil, but hopefully we draw the mountain to drop the dagger either on turn 3 or later. So I'm not going to mulligan that. We don't have that many red sources, but with the tap land, the 3 mountains, and the blue shaman, we do have some ways to get there. I'm not going to erase this on. Well, maybe I'm going to play it on the ruins. I just wanted to say that I'm not going to play it on land, which doesn't really get us that far. But playing it on this is actually quite a tempo advantage. But I'm on the draw, so I have to wait another turn. And our opponent didn't want to do anything with the mana. Now, once again, it looks like I was too careful with my mana, basically. I could have probably played a little more mountains, 1 or 2 more mountains, at the expense of islands and swamps. Once again, I've 2 red cards that I can't cast, so I'm going to fix this in when sideboarding. Here I'm going to recoil in his upkeep just to make sure that he doesn't respond and uses the mana in my turn. So something like this, for example. Now that he does counter it, but I'm getting his turn 3 mana instead of him just untapping and it not doing anything. Now this is also a very nice draw, and I'm just going to slam this basically. I don't see a reason not to just immediately go for it. I even have the black open, although that shouldn't be too important. In a more aggressive deck or format, it might have been better to drop the airship first, but my deck isn't trying to win like this, so oh yeah, he did play the plains. I was confused because of this land, but everything's fine. We have a tapped land. The goblin should be nice next turn, but I don't want to disrupt my curve. I could have dropped goblin followed by zombie. That's a nice tapper actually, quite mana efficient. But it's also a blue card, so he does know that I have the goblin from opt, so if he has an exclude, he's going to use it now. Overall, his mana efficiency wasn't the greatest. Also, dropping the ruins turn 2 is very early. Just giving me a time walk basically at the expense of mana fixing. Now, the ability isn't going to be too interesting, but it's still a 5 mana 3/3. So I could actually just shoot the Reef Shame here. It's possible that he has some troubles with his mana, and as long as he keeps virtually stone raining himself, I'm not really that afraid of his tap ability. Especially now that he's used the tap ability to prevent my my utility creature from working. Now the more regular play would have been to tap the airship to prevent 2 damage. I wasn't going to attack with the goblin anyway, so I don't really get this line of play. We can make a mental note of him having evasive action and jilt. Evasive action might be a card that we can play around. It's rather unlikely that he has mana troubles, but he has shown a red kicker card, so the shame just might be quite good in his deck. We don't really have a way of knowing. And the goblin really shines here. It allows us to just attack with all of our creatures. And it's possible that he blocks the airship. Okay, he's jump blocking with his apprentice, that's weird. And he does do this. And I'm going to regenerate. The crevice has done its job. Even though I think I'm now... Yeah, I'm not going to be able to play the Kavu now, but I don't think that's the most important thing. And well, I can't play it this turn, but I can play it later. Having the 2/3 flyer in play seems better than another ground creature. And that's even better. Slingshot Goblin is doing an insane job here. So he's down to 8 and we have these 3 creatures. I think I still drop another card. We haven't seen any mass removal from him, and who knows what he could have to stabilize. If I knew the format better, I would now consider what kind of cards he could even have to get out of this. But when I look at my creatures, they're basically, if he drops a non-blue 4/4 or something similar, then I don't have any attacks except for the zombie. So I do need this to press my advantage. Also, I haven't lost if there is a mass removal effect. My deck can also play off the top quite well, I think. Cinch looks like a good card against him. Maybe Soulburn, but not that interested, I think. Oh, Foul Presence, that's interesting. He does have the Fairy Squadrons, which he's going to play with Kicker, of course, but he's also shown that he has the Tapper. So, and Foul Presence combined with Slingshot Goblin is actually pretty nice. He has shown a Jilt, but he's once again one of the colors that doesn't have many removal effects. So Hunting Drake might be actually pretty bad. It's not that important to be aggressive with flyers because I can also just attack with ground creatures against his deck. And 2/2 is exactly too small to fight with a kicked Fairy Squadron, so that doesn't seem like a card I would want to have. If he shows a lot of green creatures, I would have to play it again, but I want to drop an island anyway for a mountain, so that's also a good reason. Now, from what he's shown, I probably don't need this, and I'm hesitant to take out any other cheap creatures because I think they're important for the progression of the game, and I also want them to have a target for my aura. So I'm going to put in a mountain, at least one of these, and maybe the Soulburn. I don't think I want 2 Foul Presences. Could go with Cinch. Well, I could go with 2 Foul Presences, but no, let's just take Presence, Soulburn, and a mountain. And we do have a nice hand. That's actually quite interesting. We are on the draw. Well, no, we are on the play. I was hoping to be on the draw, because if we're on the draw, any mountain gives us Slingshot Goblin, and any island gives us mana fixing, Well, and an insane amount of spells basically. But we do need an island at some point. But I think I keep this. These cards just seem very strong on their own in this matchup and against him. So I'm willing to risk. Well, what I would have to just draw swamps for the rest of the game basically, or non-lands. This is a greedy keep, but I feel in this format, it even if I take some more time in this matchup, I shouldn't be. I shouldn't have many troubles. There are 4 other swamps in my deck, but 6 islands and 4 mountains, so drawing the mountain immediately is of course very good, but we still do need the island for our deck to function. Okay, I don't know if he boarded into something else. It's possible. I'm not going to attack here because he has a simple way to prevent all damage. Kind of confused now. It's going to be interesting. So it can't attack and can't block if it's black, and he draws a card. Okay. It's there to kill his blue creatures, so not that big of a deal. If I draw an island, I can also just drop the Quicksilver Dagger. But I would rather use another creature for that. Okay, he's discarding and I'm close to being forced to discard. Okay, it doesn't look like he changed his deck. It just looks like he has a swamp or multiple swamps in his deck. And we still don't have a blue source. Now, the Familiar doesn't look like the best card. And we do need to get rid of blue cards, of course. I still feel kind of confident here. It's nothing to worry about, really. So he found the island before us, and he has quite a good card. Which is also kind of dangerous because I could have anything here, but I don't. So this is a point where I can't play Dead Ringers because this is blue in addition to white. And that's only fair, I suppose. Now, the Reef Shame is going to give us additional blue sources, which means that we can play twice the number of cards beginning next turn. So let's go for that. It's possible that it's going to die, but it seems even better than casting Fact or Fiction. As I said, we have a full hand and we can't really use the land drops right now. Oh, I think he cast Oblast Game. I thought he looked at my hand, but he just looks at the... It's basically like a preordain. I think Peak was in Odyssey. It's nice that I find my first island and I drop the 1-drop because it's the most powerful thing I can do. I think that's rather funny. And I could actually use it to deny the blue from his side of the board, but I think with my deck I'm just better off playing my own game. Although using Soulburn here isn't unreasonable. Might be the best best player I have. Yeah. Might be better to use the keep open the goblin if he has something. But I also gain life, so... Oh, I gain life equal to the amount of black spent. Yeah, that's fine. Still possible that I should have gone for playing 2 spells this turn, but most of them aren't that great. I mean, I can't really prevent the next 3 damage. Okay. Do I still gain 2 life? No. So now, because I don't know what kind of color he's missing, well, except that it's probably missing blue, I'm going to just, well, I was going to just change it into plains because he has the most plains. Now that he repulsed my shaman in response, it's not really relevant anymore. And that's pretty bad for me. And it might mean that I should have played differently. So with airship and goblin, I still have a nice setup here. Could also go for fact or fiction, but then again, he has the option to just... Oh yeah, the airship isn't great if he just does that. So if I recoil the Drake... No, that doesn't do much because I need to gain some tempo now, and I'm afraid that Reef Shame is still the best way to do that. I take another round of damage, but as before, getting the option on a second blue is actually worth it. Or any other mana really. Also, I could go for something like recoiling his Silver Drake and denying his island. I hope that going down to 10 is not a problem here. Okay, he has a second island now. This is an interesting game. Another one? That's pretty crazy. Now, that looks like we are going to try to apply the Dead Ringers. But this apprentice is just dying to my goblin. That's why I had to keep open the red. So there was a card he just gave us, basically. That's also nice, but I think now we have to go for Dead Ringers. I don't know if there's anything he could have here, but I don't see a reason to try to do anything fancy here. And that worked out perfectly. I'm not sure if I should still try to deny something, but he was screwed on blue and didn't cast any spells, so I'm just going to try to deny this a little longer. Although, if he casts blue spells, they might be cards I can shoot with my goblin, so at some point it's just going to be over. He drew 3 cards because of the 3 lands he had, so it was good that I didn't choose another basic land. Creatures you control get +0/+1, and it's a bounce enchantment. Now I'm still stuck on 6 lands, but if I cast Fact or Fiction, it's very likely that I get up to 7. He doesn't really have anything dangerous. Alternatively, I have with my 6 lands something like Cavern Harpy and stuff, but if I get to some more lands, I can actually do stuff. That seems quite good. It's almost a given that he has to give me some lands here. If he's really greedy, he tries to split it lands against spells. But usually in Magic, you don't want your opponent to have too many spells. So yeah, this is actually quite nice because I didn't really want the cheap cards, but I wanted the high impact card and the lands. So I think a better split for him would have been one land and the crocodile and one land and the two low impact cards. And maybe he was hoping that I have to discard, but that's not going to happen. Sadly enough, Morg Toad is my strongest play here. You could have blocked there first. I even played something. This guy has to be targeted. Okay, if possible. I think the honor guards are pretty good. I do want to use Marsh Crocodile to let each player discard and maybe just empty his hand by casting it multiple times. Oh wow. He's doing some good stuff there. Getting a 3/4 squadron. So let's see what our response is. Of course the demise is pretty good. We would have to use it on the honor guard though, but that doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world. Now, if I recoil the honor guard first, I can demise his squadron, which would be interesting. Well, he has also this, so he's saving another creature. That's not too great. Airship and regenerate costs me 7. So I basically need all my mana. This 4/4 doesn't seem too good. Now, I could attack with the Kavu. No, this is a 2/4, 2/5. I wanted to recoil the shield maybe, but I still have to get rid of the honor guard first. The kicker isn't important, not really right now. So, and I could potentially take some hits from the Fairy Squadron first. In addition with the Goblin, it's actually not even a good blocker if you want. So demising the Honor Guard gives me a good attack thanks to Slingshot Goblin, and I keep my options open with the choice of how I continue to play this. So he's saving the Honor Guard, which is actually quite nice for me. I didn't want this shield to stick around. And because of the Slingshot Goblin, both of these can attack. So now that the race isn't looking too bad, I could recoil the Squadron, just so that he needs another turn to replay it. But it's going to deal me 3, that's fine. The only problem is after that I have to use... Oh, I could drop the airship with the crevice mana, keep Oakmore red. That would mean that the Squadron can't attack into the Slingshot Goblin. Oh yes, it can because of Diga Disciple. Okay, the Disciple is always troublesome. I think I can take another hit, and I will put the airship. The question is if I drop the airship or the crocodile, but I don't want to return a creature right now. So I'm going to take the airship. And now it's probably not relevant, but let's give him a 5th island. The interesting question becomes if he's even able to attack me this turn. Oh, yeah, he is. So he's hoping that the defense of Coalition Honor Guard is enough. And it might be. I'm not winning the race, I think, currently. So he didn't cast it with Kicker. Okay, that makes sense. So it's just a 3/4 flying creature. Now it costs 3 to regenerate, and the Honor Guard does prevent blocking quite effectively, especially in combination with the Disciple. So if I have the time, I can use this. I could use the recoil to get in an attack, but that's not going to work against the Disciple. So we need another plan, and I think that involves dropping the Harpy just because it's a flying creature. Now, I think I can't even dagger something as long as the Honor Guard is in play, so I'm not going to do that. Let's make this an island. Okay, maybe I didn't think this through because now I have to sacrifice this for the regeneration, but it seemed like the most mana efficient play, so that's why I went for it. And at this point, letting him discard a card has to be a good thing also. He discards a swamp. Yeah, I probably didn't play this optimally, but let's see what happens. Oh, that hurts. So he's just bouncing these two. Yeah, that's almost going to be the end of it. I have to simply take it. So if he has another flyer, then I need to draw Dead Ringers. And that doesn't work because he has the Honor Guard. I think we are losing this one. Now my best line is just to play these two. Let's attack first, see if something unexpected happens. So he just decides to go down to 6 and we lose. Well, that was interesting. Now, I still don't think that we have many cards to put in here. Hunting Drake still doesn't seem interesting. He's blue-white, basically. We lost this game because we didn't have access to blue mana soon enough, and then he kind of did well. He had quite he had answers to our stuff basically. Why is Hunting Drake still in the deck? I thought we took that out. Now let's see, Lava Zombie, Island, and Hunting Drake. Okay, all of these should be out. The fact that he bounced Reef Shame was really the crucial point, and with only 6 island, it was probably too greedy to keep the hand that was relying heavily on islands. Now 5 mana 3/3. Alternatively, we could still go for the flyer, but I don't think that's how we're going to win. Sadly, we don't have anything helping against his flyers in addition to what we have. Slingshot Goblin is still the best card, but we need to combine it with something else. So hopefully we don't spend our early turns doing nothing again. And I'm going to play last simply how this matchup looks like. And I think I'm keeping this hand actually. My mana is good, and I have some. This is should be a great card against him. And this time I'm not casting it. I think it's too important to drop it for 5, especially given that I don't have anything. And if I draw a gating creature, I'm just going to drop it later. Protection from red. Now this might deal some damage. But Jilt is actually pretty good against it. It has protection from red, but we can still Jilt it. Oh wow. Now he might start to get rid of some of our lands, but if we drop a Swamp, then he's more likely to get rid of our island, and we don't want that. So I'm going to drop a Mountain to give him another option. Okay. That kind of messes with my plans. But he doesn't have much of an offense going on, so. I'm actually very fine with him targeting my mountain because I have another mountain in hand. And during his turn I can still do whatever I like, so. It's quite likely that he drops something good this turn, so I have to take another 2 damage to see what it is. But he doesn't have anything, okay. So the Jilt Kicker is only capable of killing this, so I'm going to bounce this and try to kill this. Hopefully this resolves, and then we start playing basically. Recoil not the greatest. But it could be important in okay, so he saved the apprentice, which doesn't really matter to me. I think he's trying to change the color of the mountain because he's scared of my goblin, my 2/2 goblin. Now, dropping the swamp here makes more sense because of Soulburn. If he decides to change this into a plains, I don't want to have blue, blue, white not being able to maximize the Soulburn. Now if he decides to change it into a swamp again, I actually get to fire off a nice Soulburn. So I don't agree with his line there, returning the apprentice to his hand at the cost of this. Actually make my life much easier considering that he didn't even replay the apprentice. Now this is interesting because I could use the demise now to kill his apprentice, but that doesn't seem like a good use of my resources, so I'm just going to allow this and then pretend like I'm racing, wait for him to drop another strong creature, which should make my end of turn agonizing demise pretty strong. And if he has something else, I can always recoil the apprentice so that my Duskwalker gets at least 2 more attacks. I also have to watch my time a little bit, but 6 minutes should be fine. Drawing another creature here actually makes it more interesting, but having the toad in play has to be better than playing the kicker on the demise, I believe. A 2/2 is actually quite relevant at this point. And I'm going to offer the trade here. I have the evasive creature, so I'm not that scared. This is basically not doing anything. And I think I want to save the recoil because it's going to be able to kill anything once he drops below, well, once he drops to 0 card. Maybe he plays around this and doesn't drop to 0 cards, so it might be better to recoil now. And then he has either an apprentice that takes it forever, or it has the same effect. So I think actually recoiling should be better. I had to think about that for a second. It's still possible that he has something like a protection spell. No, he only had an island, so at least we know that. This is interesting. We know that his hand is nothing, and this gives us a card each turn, but this gives us 3 damage each turn. I still think that playing the dagger has to be the right choice. He starts screwing our mountains at some point. We don't want that to happen. And 1 card each turn in this board state should be more important than racing him, especially considering that he's going to replay the tapper. Okay, that's almost the perfect draw, giving us another great creature to attack with. The worst case is him drawing something like Rushing River and kicking it, but Fairy Squadron is actually fine. I think we still take the extra card here. It deals 1 damage also, so we're only missing out on 2 damage. And I don't think he's going to accept the trade here. Maybe he does. No, he's actually chump blocking. That seems kind of early. Now it feels like it's more important to stop the Fairy Squadron from hitting me than to stop him from tapping one of my creatures. I'm just going to cast it now. Now it's a top deck war, but we are drawing 2 cards a turn. And we have some offense going. This looks interesting. He gets a mountain. Okay, let's probably draw 4 cards then. That's a nice draw. Considering I just talked about being in top deck mode. So he drew Allied Strategies into Repulse on our Quicksilver Daggered guy. Hopefully we dealt enough damage to win this. We could also draw something like a Magma Burst or whatever it's called. I have no idea why he didn't tap there. Maybe it's a trap, but I'm not going to worry about it. He could have a Pollen Remedy, but that still doesn't explain him not tapping anything. Okay, this means he definitely has something. I mean, this wouldn't make any sense. But I believe that if he prevents 3 to this guy, I can still do 1 and 1 on the others. That's how it should work. So okay, so he's preventing 3 to himself, which I thought. So now I should be able to kill the Disciple and the Dream Thrush. Of course, this game is far from over, but I think we are in a good position and we probably won't lose on time, not with 3 minutes left. He's starting to get quite sloppy here. I mean, maybe he's using all his mana, but he could have attacked with the Apprentice. And now it looks like the board is stabilized with him at 1 and us drawing another land. So this is staying interesting. He's going to tap this, and then we can drop the Harpy. Once again, the complexity of commentating a new format almost brought me into the timeout, but we somehow won despite him having some nice draws with allied strategies into repulse when we almost couldn't lose. But I think our deck still had quite a lot of potential to get us out of this. We had the Fact of Fiction, just flyers, Dead Ringers, the Crocodile would have been good. So lots of cards that still had quite a lot of impact. And there is a Magma Burst in my deck, it just didn't show up. So I guess we are going into the finals.